Hello, guys. This is Chi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ZettaBlock, I would say, institutional-grade, fully managed Web3 data platform. So the topic today is about why data infrastructure is important in this space and why we are building that type of data infrastructure for Web3. And a little bit background about myself. So before I co-founded ZettaBlock with my co-founder, I used to lead the product management at a company called Databricks. If people coming from Web2 probably know, like they're the brain behind Apache Spark and some of the other innovations. And it's quite interesting that when actually, I would say I'm coming from like the more Web2 background initially until last year. So when we started the company, we were focusing on trying to solve some modern data infrastructure problem. But from day one, we got a lot of interest from Solana ecosystem. Because at the time, it's about last year, the beginning of last year, they're suffering with the indexing and the analytics solutions that can handle the growth of Solana data, which is about 150 to 200 gigabyte data per day. And at the time, that is where we start learning about Web3 and blockchain data. And quite interestingly, we found actually blockchain is just, in some sense, a specialized database. And as a data infra people, we immediately see there's some interesting data pattern that is quite new in the space. And then with all the use cases we see and demand we see, we started ZettaBlock. So just to take a quick look at the list of logos here, all those companies from Web2 as a tech giants, what's the secret sauce behind them for such a success they have? It's very obvious that they have the data and the infrastructure that can support the data-driven method and strategy they're doing behind. So a little bit example about what happened in Web2 before. If you take a look at this page, Twitter is very well known for being like engaging people to the social platform. And if you look at the timeline underlying, you can see from 2029, Twitter actually re-architects its data infrastructure because at that time, the loading of the page and everything become very, very slow. And you cannot even like read the information about, for example, the friend list and who you guys are common friend are from the main page. And that is where they realize they need something better. And that is where FlockDB showed up. And then after 1 more and 2 more years, they realized they need even better. They need to make users be able to search the tweets. So they need a new way to index the data to make what they call like a fan-out mechanism out. And that is where you see that the architecture has been designed. They start seeing this user growth and tweet growth per year. Obviously, there's other reasons, but definitely the sophistication of the data infra behind really support that. And similar things happen with Uber. So if you see what happened with Uber, quite interestingly, is in 2013, their data growth is about 100 times more than the previous year. Then that is where they start realizing they have troubles with infrastructure behind the scene to just provide the smooth ride-sharing and tracking experience to user. For example, you cannot imagine right now when you open Uber, you have to wait for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to see an update of any like how far away the driver is and everything. But at the time, without the infrastructure upgrade, they actually experience this trouble. So that's why they have Scammerless, and they also have Hoodie and M3 to dramatically reduce the cost and improve the performance of the data processing underlying. And similar, again, with Google. So Google actually is quite interesting. I would consider them, even though from user experience perspective, a search engine company, but in the end, they're actually a data infra company from day one. Because when they started, that was the end of 1998, there's about 3 million websites on the internet that have to index all of them. And that is about 1 terabyte data. And after 1 year, that number grew to 80 million websites. And that means the data at least grow 6 times more, but it's obviously much more than 6 times. So that's why they build the file system, the MapReduce, and then later on to the big table to really improve the capability to index, at this moment right now, over 20 petabyte data per day, right? So that is the history you see from each of those tech giants in Web2, history of data infra innovation and evolvement happened during the early stage of the business. So with this, as you can see, how data infra can fuel the growth. And what happened in Web3 is actually data infra is becoming more important. And there's two main reasons, I would say. First of all, it's quite interesting. Actually, not that many people would notice that, but when we study that, that's actually one of the reasons we decided to get into the Web3, because we start seeing the explosive growth of data in this space. And as you can see, this is the charts we plot based on the data we have as within ZettaBlock. We indexed about 10 blockchains. So there's a lot more blockchain outside of the world that we have not indexed yet. But as you can see that from in the past 2 years, pretty much, the data growth is about 70 to 80 times more from the beginning. And that's probably like largely due to the high throughput chain that is happening and growing in the space. And what we can see, the trend is obviously in the next 2-3 years, this growth will just be showing like us more. So that's why if you compare that, what we see that 3 years later with Uber's data and Netflix data for all those metadata, you can see that blockchain data will even actually surpass the size of that. So that means without a solid data infrastructure underlying, it's going to be very hard to harness the insights, the blockchain data to get the insights and, again, do the data-driven decisions, let alone machine learning, Gen AI stuff that everybody's talking about today. So another reason, it's definitely, again, got us very excited, but on the meantime, it's probably going to be something that makes everybody in the Web3 space consider their new data strategy. Is now everybody has access to your data as well. Of course, unless you have those secret data off-chain. That's another story. But with all the data that's happening on-chain now, everybody can see it. And that means people can target your power user. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw the beginning of the year, right? And last year. So what happened with Blur and OpenSea, literally, Blur is so smart that they just go after the top 1% of the pro NFT traders that happen on OpenSea. And they can monitor, they can obviously identify that by studying the transactions and wallet behind it. And then they study like they optimize the trading experience, the buy and sell experience, and all those experience for those 1% of top users on OpenSea. And then you see the trade volume has been like this. So this is going to happen a lot more, as we can see. Because again, everybody now can see your users, can see your users' transaction, can see who is the most prominent and useful user and powerful user that happened on your platform. So then with this, now, as we know, data infra is going to be just more important in the Web3 because data itself is becoming democratized more and more. And in that case, what is the challenge of building a useful, powerful, scalable, reliable infrastructure for Web3? At this moment, there are going to be more challenges, but at this moment, these are the 4 main challenges we saw in the space as of now. So one, obviously, the data sources are very fragmented. So as I just talked about earlier in the beginning, blockchain itself is specialized in immutable database. That means from day one, it's generate data. That means all the layers built on top of that database will have data. And because the lack of like the top-notch backend data infra tool in the space, a lot of things is very fragmented right now. And with this fragmentation, if you want to unify some of the data cross-chain, on-chain, off-chain, it's going to be super hard for developers to do. And also, the data access patterns are limited. So what does that mean is, as you can see, there's a lot of data companies in the Web3 space right now are focused on each of the single pieces of the data access pattern. So we know that the graph is focusing on trying to index the blockchain and make some of the custom subgraph solutions available for the ecosystem, which is quite useful, but that is one piece, right? And also there's a lot of its own challenges and issues because of the architecture design behind it. And that analytics, we see a lot of good solutions that are trying to solve the problem, right? People are trying to build on top of Databricks, Presto, like what Dune did. Flipside is built on top of Snowflake. They're trying to bring like an analytics capability to the space. And also, like real time, some of times people will use Alchemy or some of those RPC node API solutions to get the notification capability out of it. But this is isolated very much with each other. And this should never be like this. Because if you see, again, the best data-driven companies in the world right now, they have like a very comprehensive, scalable data infrastructure underlying, can provide like those all needed data access patterns that people would do. Because you never have you can never isolate that for most of the use cases. One simple one that you can imagine in Web3, you want to do some, say, trading based on the most successful wallet that have the highest yield in the past 3 years. You want to follow them, and you want to do those passive trading algorithms with them. So that means you have to study who is the best wallet, who is the best trader in the past 3 years. That requires analytics. And once you study that, you get that list. Now you have to monitor that. That is where you need the indexing and real time, because once anything is done by this monitored wallet, you want to get notification. And also, by monitoring that, the better way is you even can put all the recent transactions of the list of wallets that you want to monitor into a dashboard and see that transactions happening in real time, and that give you some sense and insight. That is where you really need a good indexing solution. But anyways, that's the first two, and the last two are probably everybody know in the space right now. Chain data are not that easy to use because of the encryption, and also you have to do a lot of abstraction on top of that, and also the data quality is by nature, once the data size grow, it's going to become a problem unless you build a very robust data quality monitoring framework underlying. So with all those challenges now, what we think it should be built for this space is a solution that is what we call a fully managed data platform that's help you to have instant access to blockchain the way you want. Right? We talked about live stream. We talked about deep diving of the historical data with custom queries, or even just waving it directly into your applications and database. So that's why we built ZettaBlock. We call it Databricks of Web3 because that's the easiest way we consider from infra perspective, how people can understand. But what we really provide underlying is not just the infrastructure, but it will also have the enterprise-grade real-time blockchain data that they can use right away. And to keep it as very high level and not get into the technical rabbit hole, this is the layer of infrastructure component we built within ZettaBlock to make all those magic we talked about happen. So with an ingestion layer, we can take in the blockchain data, and we can then automatically decode it and allow user to do any type of custom transformation logic on top of that. And obviously, with the indexing storage and materialized view layer, now we allow you to turn any custom query into a GraphQL API endpoint with one click. No spells, no code, no maintenance. And now you can actually use that API to be embedded to your front end right away. That can be handled high concurrency, it's very low latency, It's actually like return the result within 100 milliseconds, and it's obviously can handle, again, like the custom business logic you need. And that means now, as developers, as all the projects you are building on top of Web3, you focus on your business use cases, business logic, and you focus on your smart contract development, you focus on your front end. That's it. We serve as the single backend for you. And then, with what we build, obviously the most important, we would say, like features or like challenges we see that should be solved right now is to make the data access pattern really as flexible as is. So that's why with what we build, now we allow user to have both the highly flexible, customizable queries, but meanwhile, you can turn those queries into the low latency API that you need. And that's why with what we build, there's already a lot of our customers are using ZettaBlock in their production environment. And one use case I want to just briefly show you very proudly is a cybersecurity use case that a company called Cube3 that is building the risk scoring and detection machine learning algorithms on top of ZettaBlock from day one when they started. Obviously, right now, they have been even used by MasterCard and everything, but it's like how proud we are that we can support a great team from day one, that they can use the platform to build, to train the machine learning model with the historical data, but meanwhile, have the real-time data that can keep coming into the model to do the inference and providing the real-time monitoring and alerting to the customers who are using their solution. And another one is obviously with crypto.com. And that is where we help them to reduce the cost and time 100 times more when they need to identify the wallet, like prominent wallets with the highest yield in the past 24 hours or so. And with that, ZettaBlock is we're trying to build solutions that empower the hypergrowth of Web3. And if you're interested and want to learn that how we're doing and how we are going to be helpful to you, let us know and come to the booth. Jordan and I will be there, wait for you. Yeah, thanks.